morning, people. I'm back. Now, I didn't post any videos on Thursday and Friday due to two reasons. One, I feel like sometimes I kind of feel like I don't have much content to post. I don't know how that's gonna work. But number two, I did not edit those videos for that day. But one thing that I need to start doing is editing that video on that night. That's gonna make it a whole lot easier. But yo, today I'm going into the office again. There's a couple of stuff that I need to grab on that side of town, so that's the reason why I'm going in. And then tonight we're having dinner with some of the young guys at our church, and yeah, I'm gonna get breakfast right now. So let's get this day started. So I've been really pondering on this for a while, and first thing I want to do is I want to actually apologize for not recording any videos. I feel like me having to record every single day is more like a chore rather than having to actually post stuff whenever I feel there's something I want to talk about or something I want to kind of get off my head. So I guess the whole vlogging and everything that I've been doing, daily vlogging, has actually been building me up to kind of get used to speaking in front of the camera and speaking to you guys. If that's one thing, and I guess it kind of taught me a lot from that. I'm more confident. I'm actually building up in being able to speak in front of just people, understanding that I'm not speaking just to myself, but there's people watching out there. And the one thing that I really want to talk about today is I am done with WordPress. Like, I'm finished. This is not a diss or anything. This is basically how I feel, a preference. I love WordPress, or should I say, I loved WordPress, and I love working with it, but there's just so many limitations right now that I feel is there. First of all, one thing I'm going to say is this is not obviously targeting those themes out there. There's been one theme that there's a lot of cool themes, and it's not their fault. I've been working with all these themes for, not all of them, but mostly just Divi. And Divi is an awesome plugin, amazing plugin. It's a plugin, it's one plugin that you kind of want to use for the rest of your career. And if I was still using WordPress, I would still be doing that, and I still am. I must say, I still am using the plugin, but for current or existing clients. Now, the reason why I'm leaving WordPress is it is so complicated. Well, I started using WordPress in 2014 or 2015, just playing around with WordPress.com, and from there I kind of started noticing that there's kind of a limitation to that. You can't really do fully customize things to the way you want, and I kind of discovered hosting and found out that there's this WordPress.org repository, or whatever you can call, or whatever you want to call it. So from there I realized I'm more able to have flexibility to customize and design to the way that I want to. But now I was kind of forced to learn WordPress at a deeper knowledge when I received my first client last year, and my first paying client, and it was an amazing thing. Someone helped me discover, or someone showed me Divi, and gave me the plugin to play around, the theme to play around with it, and I fell in love with it. It was and still is the most amazing theme that you can ever get for yourself. And they obviously have a yearly subscription, but after I kind of got used to it, I started throwing cash into a yearly subscription, and I think it was the best investment that I'd ever made for my work. So after the update last year, they kind of revolutionized everything, as I've said in the previous video on not previous video, but a video that I spoke about Divi. I will put it up right here. And the one thing is they've made it so much easier to design visually. So they've created a visual design tool, and that made it so much easier. It's so cool to use. I love it. I've discovered though with WordPress, once I've started gaining clients who wanted more custom work and more complex stuff to do in WordPress, is I started getting more fed up that I had to do a lot more hacking. And by hacking, having to read through someone else's code, had to read through a whole bunch of documentation, had to watch a whole ton of videos, had to break stuff and fix the stuff. And there was no flexibility in doing custom stuff. So for example, there's a whole bunch of plugins that you had to install for certain things. Those were they were free, but if you wanted more flexibility, you had to pay for stuff. So if you had a whole bunch of plugins that you were using and you were subscribed to every one of those plugins, you were actually cutting through your costs. So I'm not fully leaving WordPress. I might go back to WordPress only if a client strictly wants a WordPress website, and I'll do that. But I guess the reason why I'm feeling fed up in this way is because I come from a coding background, and coding was like the best thing because I could have flexibility in doing whatever I want. So I came across Webflow, which isn't so much a visual designer, but it's more a visual development tool, because you still have to understand CSS terminology, or should I say CSS syntax. You have to understand HTML, and you still have to understand your JavaScript and all your front-end development stuff, and background in a way, but back-end programming. But one thing that I noticed is, so it saves me time in having to develop the front end from scratch. So it has stuff like sections, div blocks. You have to understand all your positions in CSS, etc., etc. And I've started playing around with it, and I love it. Why? Because I'm in control. I'm in control of everything. If I want to create a form, I can build a form from scratch out of my own understanding. There's no third party or whatever stuff to install. So I will be using that from now on for any clients, any new clients and stuff like that. But if I'm going to be integrating if the client wants an e-commerce site, there's obviously Shopify's add to cart button, and that isn't expensive at all. It's probably like, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's like $9 a month to use. And you can easily just integrate the JavaScript into that Webflow stuff, and the Webflow website. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm totally done with WordPress. It's a bit of a headache for me. This is just a personal preference. I know there might be people who really love WordPress, but for me, it's much more complex. It's costing me a lot. It's costing my clients a lot. And I guess it's me just wanting to go back to coding. So yeah, that was it for today. I just wanted to share basically on where I'm moving to in terms of my development career and my design agency, or e-commerce agency, I want to call it that. So thank you guys for watching. I will totally see you guys probably tomorrow. Yes, I will see you guys tomorrow. And peace.